And welcome to the regular meeting of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission. Could we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Glenn,
Here.
Commissioner Allen,
Here.
Commissioner Chesbro,
Here.
Commissioner Rubio,
Here.
Commissioner Kendig,
Here.
Commissioner Scoggin,
Here.
and Commissioner Glashan is excused. We have a quorum.
Thank you. These commission members, would you look at the agenda? Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none? Oh, sorry. Which is next, according to this? I'm sorry. I'm just practicing here. First to approve the agenda, right? Okay, there's no objection? Mr. Rubio, Commissioner Rubio, is there any changes to the agenda?
No changes. I love it.
Hearing none, thank you. Mr. Bradway, would you leave the pledge, please? Next is the consent agenda. Included are minutes from the regular meeting on May 2nd, 2022. There were no quasi-judicial matters, no introduction for public hearing, and Resolution 2213, the 2022 Official Streets and Highways Plan Update. Public hearing is June 6th, 2022. Staff is Adam Bradway. Resolution 22-18, MSB Subdivision Construction Manual Update. The public hearing is June 6th, 2022. Is there any objection to approving the consent agenda as submitted? Commissioner Rubio, is there any objection?
No objection.
Thank you. Consent agenda is approved without objection. Going on, there's no committee reports, but we do have a staff report from Mr. Bradway.
Is this on? Red? Green? Yeah. I'm going to take a second to try and plug in my laptop. My name's Adam Bradway. I'm a planner in the Long Range Planning Division within the Planning Department. And I'm going to stand up here and talk a little bit about the Planning and Land Use Viewer. I think you had a chance to look at it briefly, but I'm here to sort of go through some of the features and answer whatever questions you might have. So it's plugged in. Carol, I think you need to change the HDMI or something. You need to change the HDMI or something. It's plugged in. I'm doing something wrong. duplicate.
Commissioner Rubio, we are having some technical difficulties on the video presentation here, so it'll be just a moment while we get this rolling here. So thanks for your patience.
Yeah, that's right.
So I was a teacher for a long time, and this happened to me all the time in the classroom because you get all ready and you got it all ready and then it doesn't work, and it's always a lot of fun.
Okay, well, thank you for bearing with. So like I said, and this is a little bit small for anybody in the audience, but this is the home screen for the Planning and Land Use viewer, which is a new viewer that the Matsu Borough Planning Department, along with our GIS division, have put together to help show some of the borough's zoning, essentially. This partially came out of at our most recent joint Planning Commission and Assembly meeting. The question was raised, how do we communicate what zoning the borough does have out to the public? And I think it's something that we've struggled with a little bit because we haven't had a really good way to show the different special use districts, lake management plans, things like that. So we put together this viewer. There's a little bit of instruction here on how to use it for the public. And if you didn't see, right now it's available on the borough's main webpage, right in the center. And so this is essentially what it looks like. The easiest way to use this is to use this screen. If on the right here, you essentially can type in an address or a place, and oh, whether I'm actually working here. So let's just briefly do. I think this is the address for one of the conditional use permits. Thing. So this is a near me function. So this little slider here, it shows things either directly on the parcel that you're looking at or within, let's say, one of the easiest ways to use it is to go within a mile. So you sort of see all these things in the vicinity. Again, sorry that this is so small. I would encourage you to go and take a look yourself at whatever property you're interested in. So some of the key pieces here that we wanted to show, like I said, were special use districts. So within this 1 mile radius, you actually get the Palmer Hayflats special use district. Some other ones are lake management plans, which I'll show. There are some wetlands. So this takes you to information on the wetlands. And one of the really cool parts about this is when you go and click on these different icons on the right for the different layers of information, you actually can, a lot of them have links to more information. So this will take you outside of the viewer to information on that type of wetland. I might need glasses because it's hard to see some of this. Let's see. special use districts. So this is the Hayflat Special Use District, and so what it'll do, of particular importance to this board, is it will take you to the appropriate borough code with the regulations for that special use district. Like I said, one of the other ones that special use districts before were sort of on paper maps, and they were hard to tell where your property was at. With this tool, you can actually search properties. Another one that was also almost impossible to know where all of these existed were lake management plans. So let's see. So the other, you can either search, or the other really easy way to use this tool is to click on the pin and drop it. So plan. So this also includes, there's a link to the plan itself, but it also includes the different regulations broken out. So whether there are horsepower limits or anything like that. Just really briefly, some of the other administrative areas are, there's the core area, core planning area that also has regulations. We included with the assembly districts and community councils are also on this map. And so on the community councils, if the community has a comprehensive plan, there will be a link to download that plan. Flood zones are here as well. And as we have more planning land use related items to add, we'll add them. One that might get added is the official streets and highways plan, which I'm plugging and I'll talk about next week with you all, or next meeting with you all. So essentially this is the parcel viewer is what most people know. This is taking some of those things from the parcel viewer and adding the other planning and land use related items like the special use districts to really show people a more land use specified viewer. This is going to be really helpful for anybody that's either looking to buy land or looking to develop land. So I think it'll be a useful tool. I encourage you to all to go and play around with it, and maybe you'll realize that you were near something that you didn't know you were near. Sure.
Yeah, one other thing, just, I mean, Adam and the planning department and GIS folks and IT did a lot of work to put this together, but essentially this is a one-stop. Just this tool will do everything that Parcel Viewer did, but in just a wealth of more information. So you can link to Parcel Viewer within this app. And it's very, very, very useful for community councils, for people in the public, for anything. If you want to know anything that's going on within a radius around your neighborhood or what applies, it'll save you a lot of time. It'll save you a lot of headache of trying to figure things out. So I would encourage you guys to take a look. Again, it's on the homepage of the borough's website. So if you go right on to matsu.gov.us and click right onto the very front, you'll see it on the very front. And it looks like Adam's already on top of it. It's wheels are turning there. So yeah, it's right here on the front. You'll see it, Planning and Land Use Viewer. So just wanted to throw that information on there as well. Thanks, Adam.
Ask a question.
Sure.
I'm wondering if listed or noted on here are marijuana cultivation facilities or retail stores or gravel pits.
So that might be something that gets added onto this viewer later, or it might be something that has its own viewer. So all of those permits, we don't have all of the data put together right now to put it onto the viewer right now. I think it's something that the development services division is really interested in doing, and putting them all in one place. But on this particular viewer at this moment, no, they're not.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Sure. Any other questions?
Questions from the commission? Here, Mr. Rubio, question?
No questions here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So next on the agenda is a land use classification, Resolution 22-17, a resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission recommending assembly approval of the reclassification of a borough-owned parcel, tax ID 20N04W 08A001. Mr. Kruger is our helper. Thank you.
Evening, members of the Planning Commission. My name's Emerson Kruger. I'm the resource manager here for the borough. What I'm bringing forward for your consideration tonight is a reclassification. The parcel in question was classified as watershed lands in 2006. We had a geotechnical investigation done last summer, and a parcel next to the subject parcel was included in the investigation. And when the geologist went out there, they looked at the hillshade and they looked right next to the parcel we wanted them to investigate. And they said, wow, you know, this parcel has a lot of material on it, but that parcel over there looks even better. And so we expanded the contract to include that parcel. They did a couple of test pits, and lo and behold, they found really good, clean gravel on the parcel that was classified for watershed use. So we did another desktop evaluation and looked to see if there was enough area on the parcel where the good gravel was located to accommodate the buffers and setbacks required for the wetlands and the water bodies on the remainder of that parcel. And it looked like there is enough room to have both the watershed lands as well as an active material site. And so that's what we're asking for, is your consideration in pulling 51 acres out of the parent parcel to classify it for resource management and general purpose, which will kind of open the door for, after we go in and level that portion of the parcel, then there could be another land use where the material extraction has occurred, and then the remainder of the parcel would stay undeveloped. So to sum up, there's 51 acres that we're looking to reclassify, and there's 489 acres that will remain watershed lands like they are right now. Any questions?
Questions from the commission? Mr. Rubio, do you have questions?
No questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is an opportunity for the public to ask questions or make comments on this land use classification. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment or ask a question about this? Is there anyone online? Hearing none. I would be open for a, oh, participation is closed. I open for a motion.
I move resolution, is it this one? 2217.
Been moved by Commissioner Kendig. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Glenn has seconded. Any discussion? Sorry, I knew that. Any discussion? Commissioner Rubio, do you have any discussion? Hearing none.
No discussion.
Thank you. Hearing none. Is there any objection to approving Resolution 2217 from the people here?
No.
No? Mr. Rubio?
No objection.
Thank you. Okay. Right, gavel. I'm learning to use the gavel. Okay, thank you. So now this part of the agenda is for audience participation. And this is a time that you can speak to any issue that is not on the agenda to be heard tonight. So you cannot speak to any of the three matters that are happening in the next portion, but you can speak to anything else. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to give us some thoughts or questions or concerns or anything? Is there anyone signed up, madam? Is there anyone online? Okay. Audience participation is closed. And we will move into the public hearing on quasi-judicial matters. I need to ask Commissioner Kendig.
I'm going to have to recuse myself. I'm president of Connect Fairview Community Council, and this is in our community council. We've already sent in a letter regarding this matter. So I'll have to recuse for myself from this.
Thank you, Mr. Kendig. And you can read. And the rest of the group, do you or any member of your immediate family have a substantial financial interest in any property affected by this decision, or will you recognize a foreseeable profit as a result of this decision?
No.
No.
Commissioner Rubio?
No.
Have you received or otherwise engaged in ex parte contact with the applicant, appellant, other interested parties, or members of the public concerning the application, either before, during, or after this matter was submitted for decision? Mr. Rubio?
No.
Sorry, go ahead.
My name is Shannon Beaudelet. I'm one of the assistant borough attorneys. It's nice to meet you. I haven't met most of you in person at this time. This is a beginning of my shift in front of the Planning Commission. Because this is the time for the board to ask commissioners about ex parte contacts, I wanted to take the opportunity to mention that I actually had an ex parte contact with the clerk right before the meeting. She asked me a procedural question relating to conflicts of interest, and I, for a moment, wasn't thinking about it being a quasi-judicial nature and told her that the borough does take the position about recusal that commissioners need to remove themselves from the room. And I just wanted you to be aware of that because we represent staff and we don't usually represent the board. And so that would have been advice that I would have given in public, and I should have waited to do that. And I apologize, but now everybody has an opportunity to hear the advice, and the advice has already sort of been in effect. So I just wanted to make that disclosure.
Thank you. And the third question, are you able to be impartial on this decision?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubio?
Yes.
Thank you. So this is Resolution 22-08, a conditional use permit in accordance with MSB 17.60, conditional uses for a marijuana cultivation facility located at 3097 South Sylvan Lane, tax ID 6315B01L011 and 6315B01L012, Lot 11A, within Township 17 North, Range 2 West, Section 22, Seward Meridian. The applicant is Ryan McKay and Jana Welton for AK Legacy Genetics, and staff is Ms. Horton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon. My name is Peggy Horton, planner within the Development Services Division at the Borough. I've been assigned to process this conditional use request for a marijuana cultivation facility. And will provide a brief overview of my staff report for PC Resolution 22-08. The staff report starts on page 291 of the packet. Ryan McKay and attorney Jana Welton submitted a conditional use permit application to operate a marijuana cultivation facility. The proposed use will be contained within an existing garage structure constructed in the mid-1970s. MSB 17.60.030 requires a conditional use permit for the operation of marijuana cultivation facility. A little background, the Tierra Verde subdivision was created in 1972. In 1975, the owner of Block 1, Lots 11 and 12, Robert Cook, built a residence on the property and eventually a large garage. The two lots were bought and sold together several times through the years, Lot 11 remaining residential and Lot 12 remaining vacant. In February of this year, lots 11 and 12 were combined through a platting action, resulting in one larger 2.84 acre lot. During the writing of this report, the new tax ID for the combined lots became available on the My Property and Parcel Viewer app. This caused staff to update the tax ID within the public notice on the borough's website. During the public notice process on March 7, 2022, staff mailed 36 notices to owners of property within a 600-foot radius of the subject property and to the Connect Fairview Community Council. Staff later realized that not all owners within the Tierra Verde subdivision were noticed in the first mailing as is required in MSB 17.03. A second mailing of 61 notices was sent out on March 24th, 2022 to all required property owners. A frontiersman published a public notice pertaining to the application in the March 4th, 2022 issue. Staff posted a public notice with the application material on the borough website on February 28th of 2022. The application, the public notice, and a request for comments were emailed to outside agencies and all members of the Community Council on February 28th, 2022. 10 members of the public responded with a public noticing. Their concerns in general were for odor from the facility, potential loss of property value, increase in traffic, location near school bus stop, the use being within a residential area, potential criminal activity associated with the use, and pollutants from water runoff. And I'm sure I missed a few. There were several. Staff recommendation can be found on page 300 of the packet, and the Planning Commission resolution can be found on page 421. Staff finds that the proposed use meets the standards outlined in Borough Code. Staff does recommend approval of the conditional use permit with conditions to operate a cultivation facility at 3097 South Sylvan Lane. The tax ID was 6315B01, L011, and L012, and it is now known as 8234B01, L011A. The proposed use meets all the standards of MSB 1760. Staff also recommends conditions listed on page 300 of your packet.
Thank you. Excuse me, any questions for Ms. Horton? Mr. Rubio, you have questions of staff?
Nope, no questions.
Thank you. In that case, could we have the applicants to come, I'm sorry that I didn't ask you sooner, to come up and sit at the table? I'll get better at this throughout the night, hopefully. So this is your time to address us. You have 15 minutes. Please say your full name and spell your last name for the record. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us tonight. My name is Jana Weltzine, last name Weltzin. I'm the attorney working with the applicant to put this application together in front of you. Seated to my left is Ryan McKay, McKay, as in your packet. So this is an interesting one. It's actually quite a small cultivation. It is 1,000 feet of growing space and 1,600 feet of the building is 1,600 feet, but the area under cultivation is 1,000 feet. Some points were raised in the public comment that are valid, and I do think speak to the need for some zoning discussions that I think you guys have been working on throughout this last year, at least that I've seen. This building is going to be completely sealed and not going to have any odor concerns. But if there are odor issues, the state of Alaska has hired a new AMCO investigator that's been assigned to the borough to address community concerns. So while I don't believe there's going to be any real odor issues once this operation starts going, there is a new AMCO enforcement officer assigned to this borough. This application put together under the code as it exists today, and it meets all of the requirements. They have relied on the code. They have gone through the process, and I understand sometimes neighbors have fears, but I would encourage the neighbors to be open-minded when it comes to the fact that every single year this application is going to be, or this license is going to be considered for renewal. And so every single year, the public and this local government will have the chance to voice any concerns about its operation, voice any objections to its operations. If any of the fears that are outlined in your public comment section in your packet do come to fruition. To my knowledge, we have only had one marijuana cultivation break-in since the industry started on a licensed facility for cultivation. Usually it's the retail. So I know of probably 5 to 7 retail criminal activities that have happened, actual burglaries. But for cultivation, we haven't seen any of those issues, except for there was one incident in 2017, and that was in Anchorage. So these facilities are highly regulated, highly secured. They have incredible alarm systems and camera packages that go around the entire building. It's going to be very unlikely that you're even going to know this facility is there. There's no signage other than restricted access area. Visitors must be escorted and must be 21. There's no way for children to access this facility, to gain entry to this facility, and it would be very difficult and highly unlikely that this would be a target for a criminal enterprise. So I just wanted to say that on the outset. I'll let Ryan speak for a moment, but I do want to save some time for rebuttal because I know that there's some folks here that have some things to say, and I want to make sure that I'm able to properly address them. But this application meets all the requirements. There is not going to be any negative impacts to the community, and if there is, you will have ample opportunity to come back and give your public comment and give objections so that AMCO and the Marijuana Control Board can consider those, and so that this body can consider whether it wants to protest any renewals if any of these fears do come to light. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear for the folks in the room. Ryan, do you have anything to add?
I understand that, people don't necessarily agree with the cannabis cultivation business model. I can understand some of their concerns with children and whatnot. I have children myself. And basically doubling back on what she's saying, there's a on-site security manager who lives in the residential property. He's actually my father-in-law. He will be working with the company. He's a prior Marine. He's very aware. There's a third-party security company that will be attached to by law that we have to use so that there is alarms that will go off. If alarms do go off, people will know very quickly. I have driven around this neighborhood, and I understand that there's crime, there's vagrancy, there's a lot of stuff going on in that neighborhood, a lot worse than what we're doing. And I don't necessarily, I can't point at specific things, but I'm talking about different properties and different houses and whatnot. I understand their concerns, but I'm trying to convey the message that we're going to be very secure over there. We're not going to be a nuisance. how I've built the facility. I'm using state-of-the-art technology. It's a sealed system. A lot of these cultivations have been suck and blow, they call it, where they pull air from outside and they push air out. So ours is a different type of business model with that. That's not going to be a scenario with the smell. As far as the children in the neighborhood, I mean, they just had a dispensary open right down the road, and we are not a dispensary. We're not a retail. We are a cultivation. Essentially, we're a home business. There's other people in that neighborhood that I know about that have home businesses. And so I don't feel that we should get the scrutiny just because it's a cannabis business.
And a couple other thoughts that Ryan's comments brought to mind for me is this business is not going to increase traffic to the area. At the height of a harvest, there might be a trim team there. So that's like a 1 to 2 day process of trimming. And so it's not going to increase traffic. So you're not going to have those issues of more people in the area like a retail does, brings more people in. That's not going on in this location. And I also saw some fears in the public comment about what happens if they want to put a retail here. Well, they have no plans for that because they have a different location that will be coming forward to this body later on in the year that is their retail location. And so the primary purpose of this cultivation is to feed their retail. And so that is the primary purpose. So these folks are really just trying to stay within the regulations and be an integrated business so they can make their retail succeed and make their cultivation succeed. I'm sure you've been seeing in the newspaper, it's really, really hard with all of the federal negative impacts when it comes to 280E for taxes and not being able to write off all your regular business expenses for cultivations as a standalone business to survive and thrive. So this is really part of a bigger picture, and it's a necessary part of the bigger picture. And we really hope that you'll take that into consideration and focus your analysis on the language of the code, the fact that we've met the code, and if there are complaints about smell, criminal activities, loitering, then that will come back and forth in front of you at renewal time. Additionally, I do want to point out that there has been several cases in this state where marijuana facilities captured crimes on other properties that had nothing to do with marijuana facility, and they have used their camera system to help the police solve those crimes. So this is a challenging neighborhood I've seen from some of the pictures of the area, and this could actually have a positive impact in that area. And with that, I'd like to reserve the rest of our time to address community concerns after we hear public comment.
I just want to add to that with this property, when we took this property on, it was in pretty bad shape, and we've cleaned it up substantially, and we're not done. There's plans for an actual vegetable garden that the renter, which is the on-site security manager, which is also going to be one of the trimmers. So it's he's going to be doing a garden there. We're planting flowers. We're beautifying the whole corner. It's going to change the whole appeal of that corner, and that corner's been in rough shape for quite some time. So I don't see how it's going to hurt property values when we are going to do what we're going to do to it. It's going to look a lot better. It already does. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have questions for our applicants?
I've got a couple questions.
Sure, go ahead.
So I'm pretty familiar with the traditional exhaust systems on these commercial grows. I mean, I've just read about them, and that's what we've kind of dealt with before. Can you tell me a little bit about how the sealed system works? How is it possible that you can have a system where none of the scent is going to leak out?
Absolutely. So we are running sealed rooms. We will have to supply CO2 to these rooms. These rooms all down the main corridor. There's two doors, a man trap door, essentially a man trap between the main corridor where all the hallway, where all the growing rooms are and where all the growing area is. So in order for, like, the office door goes to the outside, but in order to get to the office, you have to close one door behind you and go through another door. That man trap corridor area also is going to be scrubbed and clean, the air in there. Plus in the main hallway and the main corridor of the facility where all the sealed rooms are, like I said, we're not sucking heat and marijuana smell outside at all. We're recirculating, we're recycling, and we're recleaning it. So the only area, area that you come out through the front of the building, which is through the office, there's a man trap before it. And before that, like I said, all the cultivation rooms are sealed rooms. I'm using XLR systems out of Canada. They have dehumidification, they have scrubbing on them. And so it's just not the conventional old way of doing it. This is the way that you would do it if you wanted to keep your smell to an absolute minimum or zero.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. It's always good to educate us on the new technology and stuff for sure. So
Sure, no
appreciate that. And then the other question, I just was intrigued. You're starting with the grow facility, and then you have a proposal for a retail facility down the road. What if things don't work out with the retail facility? Have you got something? You got another partner or something you'll be able to?
Well, I've done a dispensary already, and I've worked as a consultant for other licensed cultivators in the state of Alaska. So I've built up a pretty good network of stores that I can sell to, per se, if we weren't able to have a store. But we're going to get that store going, and it's going to feed that store. But in the meantime, there's going to be a year gap between when we start over here at Alaska Legacy to when Fort Greene gets started. So in that time period, I've set up a network for sales for product.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Other questions? Commissioner Rubio, do you have questions?
No question.
Thank you. Hearing none, why don't we go ahead and open the public hearing? I have a sign-in sheet, and I will do my best to pronounce your names. Even though I was a teacher, I can't always read everybody's name when they write it, so I'm going to give it a shot. First person is Lisa Day, and she'll be followed by Wendy Richardson. And Lisa, when you start, please introduce yourself and spell your last name. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lisa Day. It's D-A-Y. I'm the co-owner of property located less than 3,000 feet from the Terra Verde subdivision. We chose the subdivision as a home to raise our children because of the proximity to the Knik and Goose Bay elementary schools. This is also the general vicinity where my spouse was raised. My mother-in-law and her sister and kids all live in the vicinity as well. The Terra Verde subdivision and surrounding areas have many, many families. We have a lot of vulnerable minor children. The neighborhood is quiet and peaceful for the most part. We've resided there for almost nearly 5 years. A few weeks ago, one of our neighbors alerted us that the AK Legacy genetic application for the conditional use permit for the marijuana cultivation facility. They posted comments on the neighborhood Facebook page. Many neighbors wrote negative feedback on the proposed facility. I've submitted written comments as well. I also wrote a petition against the proposed conditional use permit, which is signed by many of our neighbors. Everyone that I spoke to has been against the facility, and a lot of them signed the petition as well. As the Mat-Su Commission considers the conditional use permit, the property rights of all owners in the Terra Verde subdivision and potential impairment of adjacent property values must be considered. Don't the rest of the property owners have rights equal to him? Please consider what Norm Rice, a real estate broker who lives in Boring, Oregon, said. When I talk to people in communities, the question I always ask is, if a home is located next to a grow site, how many of you would purchase it? In general, a room of several people, not one hand will go up. This is why there are protective covenants in the many subdivisions. The protective covenants are rules, promises, or agreements concerning the use of land, as where Ryan McKay, as the purchaser of the land, agreed to abide by the restrictions associated with the use of said land. Keep in mind the protective covenants of the Terra Verde subdivisions were legally recorded nearly 50 years ago. They were recorded on a deed conveying the land, which has the legal effect of a binding contract term, which will be litigated if Ryan McKay moves forward with breach of said covenants by violating Section 2. No lot shall be used except for recreation or residential purposes, and section 10, no activity which is noxious or offensive shall be permitted, nor shall anything be done therein which is noxious, of offensive, or unsightly, or become an annoyance or nuisance in the neighborhood. When Ryan McKay signed the application for the conditional use permit, it should be noted that the proposed facility must be compatible with allowed uses on adjacent property. Please note, a marijuana cultivation facility is not compatible within the residential area due to the obnoxious odors, magnet of crime, obnoxious security lighting, plus the negative impact on all of the neighborhood property values. Thanks.
Thank you. So Wendy Richardson, and then after that would be AJ Cushman Beckler. Okay, thank you.
My name is Wendy Richardson, Richerson. My daughter Lisa and her family live near Tierra Verde subdivision. When my daughter notified me of the proposed marijuana cultivation facility, and now I find out sales, I reached out to many people for advice. I spoke to Peggy Horton, I spoke to Alex Strawn, Edna DeVries, Moki Tu, and many others. What I learned is the Matsu Borough, Alaska statutes for marijuana should be revised so that they effectively follow the mission statement of the Alcohol and Marijuana Control Office. Currently, statutes and ordinances are too weak to meet the mission statement, which says enforce alcohol and marijuana commerce laws and provide clear, consistent standards for licensure to protect public from harm. In Alaska statutes, there are many references to restricting access to a person 21 years of age or older. How is allowing a cultivation facility to be located within less than 3,000 feet of 2 elementary schools and a school bus stop within 300 feet from the facility driveway meet this mission statement? In order to protect the public from harm, the Alaska statutes and ordinances must be revised to prohibit marijuana cultivation facilities from being located in residential neighborhoods and must be significantly more than 500 to 1,000 feet from schools and school bus stops. Regarding public notice, it should also be expanded to more than 600 feet, and it should be signs posted for periods of time to alert potential parties to what is going to be happening with the property. I understand that Matsu Borough does not have resources ability to enforce protective covenances. However, it is the duty and responsibility of all property owners to comply with covenances which they agreed to follow when they purchased the property. If the Matsu Borough Planning Commission ignores protective covenances when considering conditional use permits, the unintended consequences is a bias towards industry at the detriment of the property owners, where the only recourse is for homeowners to move forward with lawsuits and citations of common law that parallel the covenants, e.g. public and private nuisance interference with use and enjoyment of property, disturbance of peace, impairment of property values. Ironically, there was a Supreme Court case ruling that has come out on immigration where the ruling was based on false representations in order to receive benefit from state law. Basically, it says that false representation equals no credibility. So how can Ryan say that he is complying with the covenances that he said he would comply with in the owner's statement if he violating them? So I recommend that the commission hold Ryan McKay to his word and deny the conditional use location at this and follow the protective covenants that he agreed to follow in his application and the owner's statement.
Thank you very much. So, okay. Why don't we, if he wants to wait, we'll just do it after we get the people that have signed up. All right, does that work? Okay, thanks. So then we need Chris Schmidt. Oh, you are Chris. Okay, sorry, Chris. Come on down. And after Chris comes Elton Schmidt.
The microphone is already on for you, sir, just so you know.
Thank you, sir. Hi, my name is Chris Schmidt, SCHMIDT. I am your neighbor right down the hill from you, and I had a couple of questions for you. I understand what you say about the new air filtration system, which is good because my
Excuse me,
fiance-
Mr. Schmidt. We can write down your questions, but we can't. You need to ask the questions, and we'll talk to Mr.
okay.
McKay later. Okay.
What about water use there? How is that going to affect the water filters in that for the property, my property next door? And then also on the air there, how long has this system been approved? And what's the percentage there? Because my fiance is allergic and has asthma and cannot stand the smell of it there. I mean, she has a very hard time breathing with the smell. So that is some of my concerns, besides being next door with the possibility of all the criminal activity. Not necessarily trying to break into his facilities, but all the extra that it does bring around, along with it still being federally illegal. That is my concerns.
So we will ask Mr. McKay those questions when we get done with the testimony and then
Yes.
give him a chance to respond. Thank
Yes, I
you.
would like to respond.
Okay, Elton Schmidt. And followed by Pat Martin.
My name is Elton Schmidt, SCHMIDT. I represent Lot 9 and Lot 10 directly to the south. And as it is, I am very concerned about the water mitigation and the odor and the lighting. Initially, I am downstream of the properties. I have not been approached by anybody in regards to what they intend to do with any kind of runoff or hydration issues with the property and such as this. And we are also, it has been mentioned, there has been plenty of vagrant trespassing in our subdivision, particularly with the lots directly surrounding him. And I have an officer, State Trooper Cooper, on speed dial because we have had issues in the neighborhood. So I'm just concerned about, and he's got, what he's talking about, security for his properties. Our properties, we have already trespassers and such, to the point of like, we don't need any other trespassers. This is not going to be good. Not going to be good. And my girlfriend is also a lung cancer survivor. That's what I'm going through here for mitigation. The material that's unusable and the charcoal filters. I guess I'm just not understanding what these buildings are actually capable of doing, because I've had experience in the past, particularly with the right here on KGB, passing that facility, and you can smell it as you pass down the road. And it is, our household is non-smokers. First off, neighbor's household, non-smokers. Not even tobacco, cigarettes. So, yeah, I don't know what to say. It's completely against this whole thing here at all. And if there's going to be a fire marshal, or we're talking for the odor mitigation, we want his phone number available to us. Because if we smell anything, we're going to be making that phone call. And as for cameras and motion detectors and alarms.
You can finish that thought if you need. Okay, thank you. Pat Martin.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm Pat Martin, Martin. And I too have concerns, and I too would request that you deny the conditional use permit. And as I look at page 2 of the actual application, we find several concerns. Of course, the first one is the conditional use compatible with, and will it preserve or not materially detract from the value, character, and integrity of the surrounding area? And we have a yes answer to that, but that's a completely unsubstantiated yes. When we turn to page 6 of the application, we get into the narrative for some of these answers. Then we get things like One paragraph says the proposed use will meet all compatible uses. That's not true because we've already heard that the subdivision doesn't allow for commercial uses. But then we continue on and say that compatible uses allowed on adjacent properties and will improve the overall neighborhood. Well, how are you going to improve our overall neighborhood by moving a marijuana grow facility into our neighborhood? You can't substantiate that unless, of course, you go on and say that because this will not emit odor. Well, we already don't have marijuana odor. So by continuing to not have marijuana odor, you have not improved our neighborhood. So not really credible claims here. And we go on with noise and things like that. We already don't have noise. So continuing without noise does not improve our neighborhood, and it doesn't fit with the covenants of the neighborhood. We see that we've got a question here on your page 2 of the application. Describe the measures taken to reduce negative effects upon adjacent properties. We see things like planted berms and landscaping, and we've got a narrative to turn to in that response. And the narrative says we will, or we have. Well, if you're talking about upgrading the landscaping on the property, it's still kind of hard to do that. It's not like it's really planting season for any meaningful type of landscape yet. So there's either we have or we haven't. We will. When we talk about the garden that's going in for the vegetable garden on the residential piece of the property, yeah, you can build that up, but it's not like you're planting. And anybody that goes by that facility, that piece of property, is going to know that in the winter, if you're actually going to shield that piece of property from public view, you're going to have to do substantial planting in order for that to be hidden from the public view. Lastly, we talk about the odor issue, and there's a promise that we will not emit odor from this piece of property. Well, marijuana grow facilities are notorious for both the claim and the violation of that very principle. So how can we actually call that a credible claim when it's common knowledge that they make the claim, but they violate it regularly everywhere these things are? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Philip Bledsoe, followed by Jarrett Carson.
Hi, Philip Bledsoe, last name Bledsoe. I didn't bring anything prepared to speak, but I wanted to speak just for the fact our property is located right across the road from the facility that's being proposed. So I believe we're one of the closest neighbors there as well. Looking at the covenants here, I was concerned covenant 2 about no lot shall be used except for recreational or residential purposes. I know my wife and I, we moved up here from North Carolina. Didn't know a lot about the area. If we would have known that an area had a facility like that, we wouldn't have bought. And so the concerns with property value and plus being able to resell if such a facility is made near us, that is a big concern to us, as well as the noxious smell that's mentioned here in number 2. We do have concerns about that. My wife has asthma, and in past when we've had like fumes or smells or things, it does affect her as well. Right now, that's why we would oppose the building of this facility or the permit given. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jarrett Carson.
Jarrett Carson, Carson. I agree also. I request that you deny the application. I'm not going to base mine on the emotional responses. I have a severe issue with the way that the applicant came up here and he talked about how poor our neighborhood was, how there's not going to be an increase in traffic. I've lived in this neighborhood since 2004. I'm one of the first members to move into this neighborhood. I raised 2 children in this neighborhood, and there are children all over our roads. Adding any extra traffic, commercial traffic, is a major concern. The second issue that I have with this is, he talks about the vagrancy. He talks about the issues. That's our own personal issue. He's not someone who's going to live in our neighborhood. He shouldn't come into a neighborhood and claim to improve the neighborhood when he's adding something into our neighborhood that actually adds no value to us. I've lived there since 2004, and I know a lot of children that have been raised in that neighborhood. We would have never purchased that property if it was near a grow facility. Zero. It's not going to happen. So if I ever do decide to move out of that property, what's he going to do to protect my value of my property? Nothing. His gains are his gains. There's nothing that I'm going to get from his facility. Somebody moving to our neighborhood should add to the neighborhood, not take away. There isn't any neighbor that has any understanding of what he's trying to do. He talks about the mitigation responses. He talks about what he wants to do. He's given us zero facts about what he's going to do. His entire proposal, we have to wait a year to get him out of our neighborhood when this fails. The problem I have is we've called code compliance in our neighborhood probably 50 times. And what's the response? Next to zero. Why? One of the largest boroughs and understaffed compliance. Are they going to come out and manage this? No. She talks about the facility, the agency coming in from the state. No, they're not going to do this. We live so far out from anybody coming and actually addressing our issues. State trooper response time is horrible. They're so stretched. There's no way that this is actually going to get fixed. So now we have to deal with this for 1 year before you'll come back and say anything about it. Would you want this next to you? Would you want this in your neighborhood? I will wager that every one of you, if it was in your neighborhood, you would vote no. I'm asking you, please, protect our neighborhoods, protect our kids, protect our value, protect us as members of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak on this issue? You've had your chance. You get once. Thank you. Is there anyone online who? Is there another? No one is online. Hearing none. Public hearing is closed. I'm going to give Mr. McKay a chance to respond to the questions that were asked regarding the water and the way the system works, please.
Sure. Mr. Schmidt, I believe, you had the questions. So as far as the water, there's a couple different ways that people cultivate. One of those ways is called drain to waste. Now, drain to waste, essentially the water would have to go into a drain, which could go into the aquifer. With our cultivation and the style that we cultivate in soil, we have very minimal runoff. It goes into an evaporative pan. The pan is on in-floor heated concrete. The dehumidification systems in the XLR systems basically recycle all that humidity that's evaporating out of the pans. So I don't even go into the ground with any of my nutriated water. It goes straight back into the dehumidifier from the evaporative pans, and then it goes recycled back into our RO water where we use it. So it's similar to how California does it. They have to do that out there a lot of places. And so I can understand where people would think, is this going to go in my aquifer? Is it going to affect my well? There's zero chance of that happening because of the style and how we're doing the cultivation with the soil and the evaporative pans. And back to the smell thing, I mean, like I said, I built this facility knowing that people have problems with the smell of it. I understand that it's not for everybody, but the reason we built it that way was to mitigate the smell 100%, because I don't want to have people rapping on the door complaining about the smell, because I know it can put our license in jeopardy. So we built it specifically for those types of people that do not want to smell that. I would also be happy to extend an invite to anybody in the neighborhood who would like to come over and see the facility. I can explain to them how everything works. We have one light above the two doors to the facility that are on the front, and that light is not a blinding light that's going to keep the neighborhood up. There's no sound coming out of this place. A couple fans outside that are for the ACs, but they're not loud at all. No louder than any kind of house's AC system or split system that they would have. But yeah, I mean, I would be happy to show anybody what our plans are, full transparency. I mean, I'm a Navy veteran. I come from a law enforcement background. My dad was he's a retired correction officer. My grandfather was the first federal marshal of Alaska back in the day, 70s. He got appointed by Reagan. I understand like the concerns. We're not trying to do criminal activity and we're not being criminals. We're just trying to build a business.
Thank you. So hearing no other public comments, why don't we go ahead and call for, unless the commissioner have any questions, any further questions or concerns? No, I'm sorry, you had your chance, sorry. We cannot, we're going to discuss this, thank you. Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move resolution 22.08.
Commissioner Allen has moved resolution 2208. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
And Commissioner Glenn has seconded. Dialogue, conversation, thoughts?
I guess my, when I look at this, we're not a rulemaking body. We're not a lawmaking body. And we get proposals all the time that I don't personally love. And I'll just be honest, there's a lot of, we deal with a lot of these gravel pits. And I just think to myself, man, if I lived in that neighborhood, I'd hate to have that happening in my neighborhood. And I think we've got too many of them around. And I could give you other examples beyond gravel pits, but that's not what we're here to do. What we're here to do is say, does this application meet the law as it is now? And maybe in the realm of cannabis cultivation, we do need to tighten up the laws on this. And maybe we need to be more careful about where they're placed and those kind of things. I think that's a legitimate conversation to have, but that's a conversation for another day. Right now, Mr. McKay has the laws that are in front of him, and I don't know Mr. McKay from Adam. I've never seen him before, but he's a business person who has the laws and statutes in front of him. He's abiding by them. We then have experts on staff at the borough who've done their analysis, a very detailed analysis. They've come to us and they've said he's abiding by all these standards. We're not, that's what we're here to recognize, to look at. And if he has not violated any of these standards and he's abiding by the law as it is today, then that's for us to turn around and say, well, we think the law is not good, so we're going to deny your proposal. That's called ex post facto. That is completely prohibited in American law, American jurisprudence. So that's the way I see this is it's, I have the recommendations from the staff. They've done a very thorough job. And it appears to me that he's done what he needs to do under the current laws of the land. And so I have no basis to vote against it.
Thank you. Commissioner Glenn, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I tell you what, it really puts us in a spot here every time we have to make a decision like this, because it meets all the specs, and yet I feel for the neighbors. And I got to tell you, I absolutely despise your business. I completely despise it on a personal level. But I don't know.
Commissioner Rubio, do you have questions, comments? Any other discussion?
No comments. I just wanted also, I guess, voice my thoughts on what both commissioners have already spoken in regards to, us kind of trying to, make the decisions for the right reasons, and that is why I will be approving
Thank
this
you.
resolution.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, let's do a roll call vote.
Do you want to clarify what a yes and a no is, just so everyone's clear?
Oh, okay. A yes would approve this resolution 22-08. A no would disapprove it, and we would need to have reasons for doing that. So, I've got papers here I got to look at. Commissioner Rubio.
Yes.
Commissioner Allen.
Yes.
Commissioner Glenn.
No.
Commissioner Scoggin.
Yes.
And chair votes yes. So the motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Next, we're on to resolution. Should somebody get Mr. Kendig to come back? Resolution 22-11. A conditional use permit in accordance with MSB 17.70, regulation of alcoholic beverage uses for the operation of a convenience market with gas pumps and alcoholic beverage package store called Valley Country Store Number 4, located at 3068 South Trunk Road, tax ID 815-0000L001B, within Township 17 North, Range 1 East, Section 16, Seward Meridian. Applicant Matt Gitline for KG Enterprises. Staff is Peggy Horton. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, my name is Peggy Horton. I've been assigned to process this conditional use request for an alcohol package store at Valley Country Store Number 4, and will provide a brief overview of my staff report for PC Resolution 22-11. The staff report starts on page 433 of the packet. Matt Gitline submitted a conditional use permit application to operate a beverage package store within a convenience market with gas pumps. The proposed use will be contained within a recently constructed Valley Country Store on the South Trunk Road extension. MSB 17.70.020 requires a conditional use permit for the operation of an alcoholic beverage package store. A little background of the property: it was used for farmland according to Borough 1985 aerial photos. In 97, a racetrack was constructed on the land immediately north, and the subject area was used as a parking for the racetrack. The racetrack ceased operation sometime around 2011, and since that time, the owner used the property for truck and trailer parking. South Trunk Road extension was constructed in 2017 to address increased development and growth south of the Parks Highway, as well as traffic congestion. The 2 driveways onto the property were built as a part of that road construction project. In 2021, the property was replatted into lots 1A and 1B of Happy Valley subdivision, and the subject property for this proposed use is lot 1B, consisting of 3 acres. During the public notice process, Borough staff mailed a notice of a total of 19 notices on March 16th of 2022 to all property owners within Happy Valley subdivision and within 600 feet of the subject lot. The frontiersman published the public notice on April 6th, Staff posted the application material on the borough's website and emailed the public notice, application material, and request for comments to outside agencies and the Gateway Community Council on March 10th. Staff did not receive any comments from the Community Council or the public. Staff's recommendation can be found on page 444 of the packet, and the Planning Commission resolution can be found at page 585. Staff finds that the proposed use meets all the standards outlined in Borough Code and recommends approval with conditions to operate an alcoholic beverage package store at 3068 South Trunk Road, tax ID 8150000, Lot 1B. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have a question for Mr. Ortiz. So I'm going to go back and do something I was supposed to do before. And this is the quasi-judicial action statement. For the commission, do you or any member of your immediate family have a substantial financial interest in any property affected by this decision, or will you recognize a foreseeable profit as a result of this decision?
No.
No.
None from the board. Mr. Rubio?
No.
Have you received or otherwise engaged in ex parte contact with the applicant, appellant, or other interested parties or members of the public concerning the application either before, during, or after this matter was submitted for decision? Mr. Rubio?
Nope.
Are you able to be impartial in this decision?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Ms. Horton. Did the commission have any questions of Ms. Horton before we go on? Okay, the applicant has 15.
No.
Go ahead. No, he said no. Applicant has 15 minutes to talk to us, and
just wanted to check too. We have two permits. This is just the liquor one we're discussing first.
this is the first one. This is the liquor, right? 2208.
That
is correct, yes.
2211. Okay.
Okay.
And please, again, introduce yourselves when spell your last name.
My name is Matt Gitlein, Gittlein. I'm one of the 5 owners of KG Enterprises. The other ones are in attendance. I'm just the one that gets to talk. So we own 3 other Valley Country stores, been in the business for 15 years, have a great track record with all the communities we're in. This was just a spot we found that we thought could use our services, so we proceeded with it, and we're excited to be able to work with the community there as well. Same business plan as the rest of our stores. I mean, we understand we're in a residential area there somewhat, so we designed the stores to fit the area, keep our lighting to a minimum, use the existing driveways that were already permitted by the borough for gas stations, tried to keep the store and lot, towards the back of the property lines, away from the road, the houses. Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it.
Any questions from the commissioners? Mr. Rubio, do you have any questions of the applicant?
No question.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I think the applicant wanted to speak.
Sorry, go ahead.
I also want to let my engineer, Tim Alley, take some of our time too to
Sure.
talk his piece.
Sorry. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Tim Alley, with the Boutte Company. I'm the civil engineer for the project. I just wanted to bring to light a kind of an issue that we ran across with this project, and that being the driveway permitting. During the 2017 South Trunk Road Extension project, both driveways for this access to this lot that time was the whole of Happy Valley Lot 1, were constructed as part of that project. And I just want to bring up that, the driveway construction was, from my understanding, a part of a right-of-way acquisition deal with the property owner. And for the use of that area as a gas station, we end up having to go through driveway permitting again for this. I believe it gets pretty close to, if not meeting the requirements under driveway code, where it says that driveways that were permitted by the state or the borough are no longer required to have a permit unless they are altered physically or and meet the same land use. I think that the land use was set up when they made that deal, and it added expense to the client. So yeah, I just want to bring that up. I think we're moving forward. We're waiting on the final approval of the driveways, and I don't think there's going to be anything coming out of that would really cause up any further red flags or anything like that. But just one of those issues that I thought maybe should come to light for this project.
Thank you. Anything else?
Oh, nothing else.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioners? Entertain a motion to,
I move resolution 22-11.
I'll second it.
it's been moved and seconded that for resolution 2211. Can you speak to your, sorry.
Do we do audience participation?
Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't practiced very much, sorry. Audience participation, our public hearing. Can we have a public hearing on resolution 2211? Do we have anybody signed up? Nobody signed up. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak? Is there anyone online who would like to speak? Going once? Hearing none, public hearing is closed, such as it is. Now, we have had a motion and a second to approve 22-11. Would you like to speak to your motion?
I'm in favor of this motion. The applicants have shown in the past that they're capable of handling this type of license and operation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know you folks, but I've been in your stores and they're very nice stores, and it's always great to see Alaska businesses do well. So congratulations, and I'll be a yes vote.
I made another mistake.
No, you didn't make a mistake. I'm sorry, Madam Chair. It appears our phone line disconnected, so I'm not sure if someone did attempt to call. If you can hear this, please dial in. One moment, our IT is coming on over here. Appears our phone disconnected here, so we're reconnecting. If you're listening,
for English, please press 1. Thank you for calling the Pink Shell Beach Resort and Marina, where the
I think that was the wrong number here.
Entertaining technology today.
Welcome to the Synexus Conference Manager. Please. Conference starting.
Okay, we are reconnected. This is Jason Ortiz. We are reconnected. If you were originally trying to call in, if you can please dial back in. We can wait here just a moment and try to hear your testimony if you were attempting to give public comment. Caleb, is there anyone online? Okay, I'm not sure. Maybe, Madam Chair, if you want to just make another announcement in a minute or so, and we can see if they give last ample opportunity to another person.
So the public hearing is still open, and if there's anyone online or anyone in the audience who would like to comment on Resolution 22-11, now is a great time. Anybody online? Hearing none. It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 22-11. Are there any objections to approving Resolution 22-11? Seeing none here. Mr. Rubio, do you object to approving Resolution 2011?
No, I do not object.
Thank you. Motion passes. To the next one. So now we're on to the next one. And I'm going to do it right this time. Okay. So commissioners, I'm going to read this. I have to read this first. Resolution 2210, a conditional use permit in accordance with MSB 17.61, core area for the operation of a convenience market with gas pumps and alcoholic beverage package store called Valley Country Store Number 4, located at 3068 South Trunk Road, tax ID 8150000L001B, within Township 17 North, Range 1 East, Section 16, Seward Meridian. Applicant Matt Gitline for KG Enterprises. Staff is Peggy Horton. And to the Planning Commission, do you or any member of your immediate family have a substantial financial interest in any property affected by this decision, or will you recognize a foreseeable profit as a result of this decision? Commissioner Rubio?
Nope.
Have you received or otherwise engaged in ex parte contact with the applicant, appellant, or other interested parties or members of the public concerning the application, either before, during, or after this matter was submitted for decision? Commissioner Rubio?
No.
Are you able to be impartial in this decision? Commissioner Rubio?
Yes.
Thank you.
I just think it would be a little more clear if you state that the whole board was in agreement that they can be partial and haven't had any ex parte contact. Because if the matter goes up on appeal, the head nods don't get captured by the recording.
Okay. So I should ask them to verbally say.
Well, I don't think you need to ask them at this juncture. I would just recommend that you note for the record that you asked if there were any conflicts and everyone reported that there were none.
Okay. I asked if there were conflicts and everyone reported that there were none. Thank you. Ms. Horton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've also been assigned to process this core area conditional use request from the Valley Country Store Number 4. And this is for PC Resolution 22-10. My staff report starts on page 597. So MSB 17.61.090 requires a conditional use permit for a new commercial or industrial uses within the core area that generate traffic in excess of 100 vehicles during the morning or afternoon peak hour, or more than 750 vehicles per day. Operation of such a land use within the core area without a permit is prohibited. The background on the property is the same as the previous PC resolution. The public noticing is the same. Staff's full recommendation can be found on page 610 of the packet. And the Planning Commission resolution can be found on page 571. Staff finds that the proposed use meets all the requirements, all the standards outlined in Borough Code. We recommend approval of the core area conditional use permit with conditions to operate convenience market and gas pumps and an alcoholic beverage package store within the core area at the said property. The proposed use meets all the standards of MSB 17.61. And the recommendations for conditions are found on page 610.
Thank you. Can we hear from the applicant? Do you have anything to add here? Again, please, your name and...
My name is Matt Getline, Gittlein. I'm one of the owners of KG Enterprises, here with my two civil engineers from the Boutte Company. I don't have anything to add. I'm going to let Tim add anything if he wants to.
Yeah, I'll add a little bit. We've done, this is our second store with the Gitlines. Should probably started off with this on the last one, but they've been great to work with. I think they definitely have the community in mind. And I, as a resident of the Ranch neighborhood, I'm happy to see this go in and have a nice stop on my way out of the neighborhood to go to Anchorage or to the office out here in the valley. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Hans Hill. I'm with the Boutte Company as well.
Could you
Yes,
say
first
your-
name Hans, H-A-N-S, last name Hill, H-I-L-L.
Thank you.
In general, we put together a site plan that is comprehensive, takes into account all the requirements of the borough, and we've tried to appease the additional comments that have come up through the planning process. As such, I think we've come to a good resolution regarding the driveways that were previously discussed. We're still going through the driveway approval process, although we still want to state that I think it was overbearing in the process to go through this, in the fact that these driveways were previously permitted for this application, and as such, client bore a considerable amount of dollars associated with. But overall, I think it's going to be a benefit to the borough, and we look forward to opening the store. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the applicants? Commissioner Scoggin?
Whose road is that the driveways didn't get put in right?
It's in the it's
It's a
Borough
Borough
Road.
Road. Yeah. So the Borough Road put in driveways for commercial use. Don't meet standards today, or what? I don't. You brought it up twice, and I think it's important.
Yeah. Sure. So we've had a couple of comments on them. One that they are spaced 300 feet apart. This particular portion of Trunk Road, though not sure entirely why, is classified as a minor arterial. Up until, if you keep going south on there, you get across the railroad crossing, over a bridge over the railroad, and then it goes back to a collector. And so, for this portion of road, we have the borough engineer looking at it. I think everything's fine, like I said. But it definitely, added some discrepancy there. During the Trunk Road project, both driveways were constructed up to right of way, or up to close to right away, is basically to the end of the returns, for use as for a gas station, as part of the negotiation with the that current property owner who owns the remainder of Lot 1, Lot 1A. And so there really hasn't been a change in use that would trigger having to go back for a permit. That also being said, they were put in 2017. From what I could see, the ordinance was passed in 2020. So it's pre current, before the current ordinance was in place. And for a minor arterial, there is a larger driveway spacing that would make it a lot more difficult for these guys to develop this lot. There's some topography issues. This again is going through the borough engineer. We're working it out. I think it's going to be fine. But I just wanted to bring it to light because it seems a little disingenuous to have an agreement put in place during right-of-way negotiation and pull it out when you actually go to develop.
Thank you. Any further questions? The applicant? Commissioner Rubio, do you have questions for the applicant?
No questions.
Thank you. Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing. Did you have a question, Mr. Kendick? Okay. I'll open the public hearing, and I have two people signed up. Mr. Manelik, am I that right? And again, please state your name and spell your last name and turn that microphone on. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. I don't know if it's entirely necessary, but I'm here to address you guys. My name is August Manelik, Manelick, and I'm the owner and operator of Altitude Chiropractic just up the road. My mother also co-owned the business for the last 20 years, and I basically grew up in the area. I grew up playing in that back area before it became a neighborhood, and really happy that this is going on. I also want to state that I've known the Gitlins since I was also in high school, and they've never had a mark against their name. They're upstanding people in the community. This is kind of superfluous, but I'd like to recommend that you also approve this as your staff has already. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. And Emma Greenwood Durand, am I right?
Okay, good. My name is Emma Greenwood, hyphen Dorn, GREENWOOD, hyphen DORAN. I'm just here to support this. I am also in the surrounding community. I'm owner of Cozy Cup Espresso. We've been in business for about 10 years, and we're hoping to partner with the Gitlines at this proposed spot. So I would just like to thank you all for your time, and hopefully we can offer a lot more to the community through this, especially in the neighborhood there. I think it's very important. So
Thank you very much.
thank you. Have a good night.
Is there anyone in the room who would like to, who did not sign up, who would like to speak to this? Is there anyone online who would like to speak to this? In that case, the public hearing is closed. Entertain a motion.
I move resolution 22-10.
I'll second it.
It's been moved by Commissioner Koenig and seconded by Commissioner Scoggin to approve resolution 22-10. Is there discussion among the commissioners? Like to speak to your
Again, same reason as before. They're responsible business owners with a proven track record.
Mr. Scoggin? Okay. Mr. Rubio, do you have any comments that you'd like to add?
No comments.
Hearing none. All those in favor of resolution 22-10, Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Kendig?
Yes.
Mr. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Scoggin?
Yes.
Mr. Rubio?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. So thank you. It passes without opposition. guess that does it. Is that all? Okay, we are on to commission business. Anything that you'd like to tell us? Mr. Ortiz.
You guys heard 3 quasi-judicial hearings today. I'm going to stress another thing to all planning commission members to please make sure you do not interject with your personal beliefs or opinions about particular cases on things because of the ramifications it can have on a case. So I'll make sure that everyone is aware of that. And thank you to staff for their work today, and Adam for showing us the planning and land use viewer.
Madam Clerk, any comments?
No, thank you.
Any comments? Commissioner comments? Mr. Glenn?
Yeah, Pat, you did a great job tonight. I'm a co-chair on a bank board of directors, and it's tough to get thrown in the hot seat every once in a while. So you don't do it at all, and then all of a sudden you're it. So good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
I agree. Well done today.
Thank you. Commissioner Rubio, you have a comment?
Yeah, I just would like to say thanks for all the public testimony. It's really great hearing from the community directly. And also excellent comments by the fellow commissioners. Yeah, nice job.
Great, thank you. And I would just say thank you for your patience tonight, and we did it. So meeting is over.